There we go. Jesus. Waves says, please. Well, okay, since you said please, I'll go live. I will do it. And then you pleaded with me, and now I'm doing it. So, welcome to day 852 of Eating a Sheet of Paper a Day. My name is Brian Case. I eat paper. Waves, welcome. I don't know if you eat paper or not, but regardless of the personal details I know about you, I will do one thing, and I will serve you by providing live content and occasionally pre recorded content featuring me eating paper in full, unedited, uncut, uncensored, unfiltered. That's what the stream is all about. To make sure that we don't cheat, make sure we don't deceive the public. What you get is what you get, or what you see is what you see. Sorry, I'm drunk, so I'm sure I said that totally correctly, but that's what you get. So let's stop talking and start eating with our mouths. My score for the day, it's a nice, modest 6.9 out of 10. Thank you. This is a little later than the normal time because I attended a pinball league. I almost placed on the final 8 rounds, or the final 8 people that would go into the final rounds, which would be the thing. But in order to do this, I needed to have a buffalo coffee, which is apparently coffee mixed with cinnamon and, of course, whiskey. And it actually helped me play better. So I realized I just need to kill the right amount of brain cells in my head. Because if I have too many brain cells, then I start thinking too much in directions that are not productive. If I have too few brain cells, obviously I am too slow and I crash. And then I get sent over to the mental ward, or possibly a retardation facility, or a special education classroom, as the normie PC folk like to call it these days. But if I drink just one drink featuring heavy whiskey, it wasn't even that much liquid, but I figured that I think we threaded the needle perfectly, and I managed to drink just enough. And so I killed just the right amount of brain synapses, and I was able to play my best games. Certainly did better than my last pinball tournament, that's for sure. Not that great. I got fucked when I was on the X-Men machine. That's like my worst machine. I just got to throw that one in at the last round, right when I'm fucking getting in the groove of things. But it's fine, you know? If I blame my subpar performance on out of control factors like that, and by out of control, I don't mean manic, I mean factors that are out of my control, I know, or I have this weird feeling I can brain trick myself into thinking the next time I come in, if that happens to not happen, which is likely, I'll be fine. 5.4 out of 10. Nice state of neutrality. McBurgerness, nice to see you. I'm drunk, and when I'm drunk, I'm tired, and so I might be a bit tired to do this properly or to finish this stream. Or not finish it, to do it long enough where it'll be like, oh, that was a nice 2-hour stream where I was able to fall asleep to it. It's going to be a pretty short stream. We won't be able to put it on for a nap. I need a fucking nap right now. Okay, hold on. Gag reflex on a small piece on my first bite of the stream. Not a good sign, guys. Well, how's your day going? Mine's all right. You know, I was actually getting into a good work ethic mode, and it's all going to be fucked up because I'm going to have to sleep after this. And if I'm sleeping at like 4 in the afternoon, that's probably not very good. It still feels like morning. It feels like that whole morning was nothing. And I woke up at like 9 today, so trust me, guys. This is mighty uncommon. This is mighty unusual, mighty suspect. I'm going to be drinking later. Good old alcohol. That's how a child who's pretending to be an adult on the internet talks about drinking. I'm going to be sipping some yummy whiskey. Good old whiskey. Good old liquor, huh? Took an L in the pinball tourney, huh? Listen, kid, taking an L in the pinball tourney? There ain't nothing for you here, kid. You're talking very interestingly today in the chat, which I like. It adds to the flavor of the chat, and the chat is a part of the stream, so you're adding to the stream right now. I didn't take an entire L. You know, I almost qualified to go into the final rounds, and even if you're last place in the final rounds, you're guaranteed a $10 Radio Shack gift card that you can buy some auxiliary wires with or some shit like that. I'm going to be drinking later. Good old alcohol. That's such a funny fucking chat. Oh, man. I'm going to pin that. That's iconic right there. I'm going to be sipping some beer later. Yummy beer. Good old beer. Hello, my old friend beer. Nice to see you again. It's been 2 minutes. It's been a while. I would talk to some people in my middle school who would claim to have drank alcohol, and that's exactly how they talked about it. And then I would watch them privately in the bathroom, and then they'd be drinking Gatorade. Beer. Yeah, exactly. I'm terrible at pinball. I mean, sometimes I really feel terrible at it too, but I mean, pinball isn't pinball if you don't have inadvertent winning and losing streaks. Like it's this interesting ratio of skill versus luck, right? I mean, if you look at like slot machines, that's only luck. And if you go all the way over to the other side, like chess, right? Chess is 100% skill, absolutely no room for fate or the universe. It's just you and the other player. But everything else is kind of a shade in between, right? You have Monopoly, which, I mean, people think that that's mostly a game of luck because of the dice, but most of the time, unless you're playing with like two people, in which case it's like a 30% chance, most of the time, by the time all of the properties are purchased, nobody's going to have any monopolies. And the only way to achieve a monopoly is by negotiating with another player. And most of the time, the deal will not be on unless you either give them a full monopoly in exchange for your first monopoly, which is the only way to make enough money to survive the game. And if you're giving someone else a monopoly, you got to keep track of who has money so that they can purchase houses. And even if you purchase houses, yeah, you could get unlucky and not land. So you have to track where each piece is, the likelihood that they're going to land on your property, which all depends on placement and the most common die rolls, statistically speaking, which you'll have to factor in as well. And you realize that skill is a lot more of a factor in Monopoly than luck is. So when it comes to luck versus skill, Monopoly is like over here somewhere, right? This space here, that's the die rolls, right? That's how I like to think of it. It always makes games more fun to think about, especially if you win Monopoly and you're like, okay, how much of that was a fluke? How much of that was a slot machine fluke? And how much of that was me actually having a big cock and being a badass? And I would say with Monopoly, it's more of the latter. Although sometimes there's a negotiation style you make, or maybe you do invest in railroads and people get unlucky and land on your shit. Like I remember I had a whole fucking thing where I had 3 houses on Boardwalk and Park Place, and no one landed on those 2 properties, but I landed on New York Avenue 5 times. That is one property. That is half the square mileage that my fucking dark blue shit had. And yet I still kept landing on that. And then there were other players who kept landing on New York too. Not a single person landed on my Boardwalk and Park Place shit, and that's why I lost the game. I had to sell all my houses, and then the game was over. So, I mean, luck plays a factor. And even though I am calculating this as 20% luck, that 20% makes all the difference. Our DNA is 1% different from chimpanzees, and that 1% does make all the difference. So, I mean, proportions and statistics are weird if we're talking percentages. Been waiting all day, you say? I mean, yeah, that's how it works, right? Eating 1 sheet of paper a day. You got to wait a whole day for the next sheet of paper. I'm drunk. I'm not gonna. That was a normal sentence. Never made it through a game of Monopoly. Well, okay, you're clearly a casual. All right, you gotta man up. Part of growing up is playing a full game of Monopoly. It's a waiting game. You got to read War and Peace and play a full game of Monopoly. That's what you got to do. Oh man, have you guys tried a Buffalo Coffee cocktail where it's like heavy whiskey and they they don't distill it. They condense it and they put a hell of a fuck ton of a lot of it. And it sinks to the bottom too. So the final sips are the most brutal. And then they mix it with this coffee stuff. And then they put cinnamon, they sprinkle cinnamon on top so it looks gourmet, so it looks harmless, but like 3 of those could kill a grown man. Moses, are you having a schizophrenic episode right now? I've discussed this whole thing with you before. And let me tell you something before I say anything. I'm drunk right now. Okay, great. Moving on. She was volatile, but the fact that you kept approaching her and begging for her affirmation, that'll completely kneecap you. That is you taking a fucking gigantic harpoon shooter to your kneecap. And without a kneecap, you can't walk very well, can you? You see, my analogy totally tracks, guys. Listen, I'm telling you, no, don't even know me, my friend. This is not it. We're gonna. Okay, you better call. I'm gonna phone call your ass right now. You fucking affirmation seeking motherfucker. Where's your number? I know if I look you up, that's not my number. I'm telling you, we've gone through this before, and it's like you have this revelation, but every single time you pretend like this is the turning point in your life when you realize that she was evil. But you've been saying this for the last like year, bro. Where's your fucking thing? There's your number. No, this is different. Well, okay, you explained to me in the form of your actual voice and not some random fucking live chat thing.
Hello.
Okay, all right, Moses. Now you explained to me. Also, it's highly likely that if you're watching this, if I'm probably going to hear my own voice.
No, dude, this is different. This is very different. I promise. I actually
This
feel
is
pretty happy right now.
okay. Well, you explain to me how it's different, and we'll let the court of public opinion decide. So I'm gonna open up a poll here, and listen, I'm willing to hear you out. I could totally agree with you. So let's just if you're just because often if I'm talking to you individually, especially when I'm drunk right now, I will be a brick wall of a human being, and it'll just be you talking to yourself. So let's make this truly reciprocal, and let's have Supermondo Man says sound like someone isn't good at rizzing. This is what I'm talking about.
Dude, all right, I'm gonna be honest. I was talking to this dude, like who I know.
You are rizzing that guy up. All right, come on, dude. So you were talking to a guy. Did she make you become like? Did she make you change your orientation that quick? I'm fucking around with you.
This has nothing to do with her now. So. I was talking to this dude, and I told her like the like what happened, and like he also shared his insight. And honestly, I truly feel like a burden has been lifted.
Okay, well, you could speak about this abstractly, but be somewhat succinct here. But just tell me what was being said. What did he tell you? Moses, you're right, and not only is your jawline epic, but you were right and she was wrong the whole time. Is that the gist? Please tell me now.
Yeah, it just took me. It just took. Let's just say it took me a while to get my head out of my ass, and I think I finally managed to pull it out.
Okay, well, tell me this then. What about your perspective has changed? Tell me the Moses of yesterday and the Moses of today. What's the difference? If this is like Alex Jones sucking his chest in artificially. Okay.
Right, but I'm not sure we can discuss this on a live stream because what he told me was some very sensitive information.
Text it to me, and I will totally not drunkenly talk about it on the fucking live stream.
Are you sure? Because like what he told me, was like really sensitive material. But
you're saying this shit pertains to him. You're saying this is personal info about someone else. Don't tell me that. Just tell me what you realized about yourself. Surely you should be able to tell me that.
Okay. I'll tell you like the less diverse version. So
that's what I've been asking for.
And he basically told this dude has like a background in psychology, shall we say? And he told me like this person was, for lack of a better words, like a bitch. He was really petty and very manipulative.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me you're just still telling me his details. Before you continue with this, again, use your own judgment. And two, do you know who Supermondo Man is?
Huh?
Supermondo Man. Do you know who that is? Does that name ring a bell?
No.
Okay. Supermondo Man actually is known as, at least from what I've seen on the internet, one of the best people at so-called rizzing and also approaching people and getting them to love you immediately, to fall in love. I could recommend his Instagram to you. I'll send you a DM of one of his reels. Text him, and he will give you tips and tricks on how to rizz people the fuck up. I know you've been wondering about this, and you keep asking me for advice, but I just eat paper, all right? I'm professional and platonic. However, Supermondo Man is a true romantic, and when you see his internet content, you will truly understand. Don't. This is nothing to fucking scoff at, Moses. So I'm going.
No, Brian. I swear this is different. So he told me like, I know I sound like a broken record. I'm sorry, but I finally feel like I finally managed to get my head out of my ass and like look at it clearly. And he told me some very, like I already told you, like some very unflattering things about her that kind of seemed to confirm my suspicions. And he believes that she probably has. We both agreed that she has like some form of narcissistic personality disorder, I guess, and she's all fucked up in the head.
Well, okay, Moses, that's cool and all, and I don't think that she's perfect, but when I've talked to her, especially involving my perspective and how she's gone about it, like she's just somebody who is closed off on the outside and she reacts differently to people she doesn't know or doesn't trust. And all that you've seen of her, and I'm going to tell you this right now, she was nicer to you before, but like I've known this person for a good number of years now. God, I shouldn't have had that. I'm going to slip up and like say her name, but like this whole fucking thing, like you've only seen that side of her. Like when I first met her,
I didn't do anything. I didn't like fucking. I don't know where you get where I was like basically begging on my knees for affirmation. I don't know where you get.
I know you weren't trying.
It might have sounded like that, but I can assure you, I wasn't like fucking stalking her and like going on.
No, I know you weren't doing that. However, little interactions make the difference, and unfortunately, she's the type of person to judge people off stuff like that. And what I'm saying is, it is just a little possible. I can't go inside people's heads and know what happened, but I witnessed interactions you had with her in real life, dude. And when you were interacting with this person, it was very not. You were very bald about all this. This is very unsubtle shit. So.
What do you mean by bald?
Okay, not as in with no hair. You've always had hair. Good for you. But I'm saying bald as in transparent, as in very obvious. I don't think you realize how obvious your actual emotions or intentions are when you're talking to somebody. She understands that you aren't evil. She knows you're not evil, but you definitely come off as really wanting something that she isn't able to provide to you. And when you come up to this like, I'm just going to do a small little impression, okay? So SNL, hire me for impressions if you're seeing this. But like when I see you're going up to her going, hey, I can't say her name because in order to do this impression, I have to say her name on the hello. I was just wondering if you could open up the practice room. Also, thank you so much in advance. But if you aren't able to do it, then totally not thank you. But ha 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 ha. Anyways, let me know if you can do it. Thank you. Bye. You know, just that. It's you do shit like that. This is what I'm talking about, man. That is like that is no exaggeration what you've done.
Okay, look, that was a mistake. I learned from it, okay? I didn't, and I realized I was being kind of like that, and I left her alone for some time, and she was the one who decided to like be all fucking weird the one time when I asked her to when I actually had a question, decided to be like, fucking all like bitchy for no reason.
But riddle me this. Do you also think that the fact that you're talking in your notes, and by the way, just because people are in your like, listen, I haven't been taking like screenshotting shit, but I mean, you are coming into my live chat publicly on the internet, so I mean, technically, I didn't start this, but like, I'm just saying, if you're making notes, and even if they're close friend stories, like there are people who are still gonna be concerned because there's some stuff you've written on there where, and when I keep seeing this shit, like, turns out this person was a hollow bitch all along. I'm like, I don't know. I think
this is. I know, I understand, but I feel like this is different, and I feel like I finally, and like I said, I managed to get my head out of my ass.
You text me why you thought you did that. I need to finish this stream, and I'm drunk, so.
All right, you know, how would I call you? I'll call you later when people are watching.
Call me later, dude. I'm gonna be sleeping. I'm gonna be napping.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye, Moses. Good night. Yeah, wait, you text me what you think, but listen, if you actually improved yourself, I'm proud of you. And if not, I don't know, man. Go to In-N-Out and eat a burger or something, you know?
No, but I promise. This is different. I promise.
This is different than the last time. All right, well, I'll see you around, Moses.
I'll see you around.
That was normal. All right. Thank you so much for bearing with me onto that. It was just an important business call with a business negotiation. I'm professional and platonic, lol. Me too, man. I mean, I feel like in order to really maintain a series like this, there needs to be a lot of coordination at play here. And so in order to even do that, I kind of have to have the demeanor of a businessman shaking hands with Jeff Bezos. You know, we're just moving assets. You know, we're making sure to invest the right amount of six figures. That's businessman speak. I think that's how it works. I would totally agree with you, but I won't. That's a very good position to have. I agree with that. He liked somebody. He had a crush on this person and would approach her. This is the fucked up thing about romance. It has such high stakes to it. So he would go up to this person and he would just act like a complete moron around her. And he would go, hello, would you like to be friends? You know, he would do stuff like that. He didn't say exactly that, but basically stuff that was almost that. Forget that this convo existed. No, I'm just saying he had good intentions. Moses, you have good intentions, but things would get lost in translation. And like I as a person who also gets misinterpreted all the time, like I relate to you, man. I relate to you, but it's a really, really, really good idea sometimes to clarify, like to make yourself super duper clear. How would I say this? I'm not being grammatically correct here. To clarify yourself. You did not do that. You would just continue having the same interactions that would portray yourself the wrong way. Even if you go up to her and go, just so you know, I didn't mean anything by that other thing. Like, you got to do it the right way. You have to go, hey, we got off on the wrong foot. There are a couple interactions, and I don't think things were syncing up right. We were speaking different languages. So let's start, and initiate a normal conversation from that point forth. Don't just use words. Initiate with actions, even if those actions comprise of words. What I'm saying is don't say that you're going to not be awkward from now on, or that other thing was awkward. Sorry about that. Don't apologize. Commit with action. Show that you can do it with action and by being less awkward. But he would do this repeatedly, and he really liked this person, and he definitely wanted to. Moses, I'm talking like you're not here. Moses, you wanted to have to be closer to this person, and you, from what I remember, and I think I remember things quite clearly, and you continued kind of pushing in a direction that you didn't understand, which is understandable. You aren't too privy to these social codes. Neither am I. But I was still seeing from a third person perspective, somebody who didn't get that the opportunity was already passed, and he just kept walking towards it. Even if you understood consciously, and you're like, maybe I should drop it. But you kept going towards it. It was like your instinct. It was this whole, it's like you were sleepwalking towards the wrong destination. You're sleepwalking off a cliff. That's a good phrase to use. So it's basically that, and he's dealing with grief. He lost something that he was hoping to have, and one of the first stages of grief is denial. And he's just like, she was a bitch the whole time. She wasn't even worth it. A really common thing that people do whenever they lose a loved one. And this is not exactly the same thing, but it's basically the same ingredients. It's basically a different sized cake comprising of the same vanilla flavoring. Grief. You're experiencing grief. You wanted something. You feel like you had something. You feel like you had something resembling a friendship, and then you feel like you lost it. Denial's the first step. You cope by going, she wasn't even worth it anyways, I've witnessed people who have lost their grandmas. They're like, she was a bitch anyways. I never even liked her. That's the first step. You got to get past the first step. It's been like a year since this thing went completely haywire between you and her. And I'm telling you, like, I've interacted with her enough to know that she's not even thinking about it anymore. So I've moved on for the most part. Well, then why are you coming into my chat and the first thing you say publicly on the internet is, after all this time, I figured out that she was the problem all along and I was innocent. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to not, I can't, I mean, I'm not going to ignore that. What am I supposed to do? I can't be an ass. I think it's an ass thing to do if I just am like, all right, Moses, whatever. I can't just do that. Maybe if I was sober, I would. Maybe this is, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's my problem. I don't know. I was in a good mood. You should still be in a good mood. Don't ruin those good moods. It's like a piece of rice in my hair. But we are the sum of our parts. Who we were is still who we are to a degree. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can say that America has swung, the pendulum has swung in the other direction, and that America has a problem of, say, being racist against white people. You could make that argument. But in order to make that argument, you'd have to acknowledge that the reason that we are this way is because of ripple effects from the era when Black people weren't even allowed to vote without being quizzed or given an unfair test on, every single word in the Constitution verbatim, that horrific era. Bro, if you have a crush on someone, don't go in expecting anything. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Crushes are created by circumstance. If you try to take something that's delivered by circumstance, don't try and force conscious action. Don't try to tweak and manipulate the machine. If things go the way humans were evolved to go through, I believe that you will naturally find a crush without trying. Plus, imagine I'm trying to find someone who likes me and I like them back. One thing that I never like is when someone's really trying to get me to like them, right? I feel like I'm speaking kindergarten language right here. Good advice. Exactly. Moses, this is what I'm fucking talking about. This is Super Mondo Man. He shouldn't even be in my chat. I should be a commentator on his stream. He should give streams where he gives much more sound advice than Brian after a Buffalo coffee cocktail. So, this is the last piece, by the way. I mean, it's just, listen, let us, listen, no, I understand you regret your decision, but I mean, when we're on the public internet and I'm just doing my stream as normal, and then you come in and you initiate with, all this time, she was the problem and I was innocent. Even if you're not mentioning names, this is just what happens. This is what happens when you start stuff like this. And I mean, I'm not going to ignore the chat. And also that chat, unless you delete it, which is stupid, you should never, that's a bad principle. But if you're going to delete it, which I'm sure you might want to do that, there's still evidence of it. There's still a footprint that you just left on the internet. So how about you take accountability normally, like a normal person, for your position and your opinion? It's just you being honest and transparent, you know? But yeah, just whenever you have a crush on somebody, take a deep breath, step back, and just don't set your expectations too high. Hope for the best, plan for the worst, as Socrates once said. And Socrates had many wives and also apparently many underage boys he had sex with. Never mind. I didn't say any of that shit, but okay, my bad. I'm sorry. No, don't apologize for being transparent. You're the one who comes in and then the natural consequence, you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't do anything ever. Like, it's good to be outgoing. You have to be outgoing and then accept the consequences. Understand that sometimes you got to have no boundaries or sense of privacy. Like, I've talked about some shit publicly on this stream, especially with my terrible situation involving the girl, you know, that got resolved because I actually ended up adjusting. And I like I'm not even bringing it up, not even initiating by bringing it up until your very similar situation came up and I'm using it as an example. But like with a situation like that, I mean, it's seriously, I just think that like I'm an idiot. I'm retarded as hell. And if I can get over it, I know you can too, man. So it's just something where everyone has if your first lady that you fall in love with ends up being the one forever, congrats. Consider yourself like the top 0.01%. Every single person who's worth their salt, romantically speaking, has to go through that, where they feel like the idiot, they feel like the one that fucked up, feel like the incapable one. Everyone has to feel that. And growing up is moving past that feeling and understanding that a lot of it's temporary. And that's what learning is. In order to learn, you must fail over and over again. In order to have mountains, you must have valleys. Mountains cannot exist without valleys. Up and down, it's all relative. You're in a big fucking valley right now, and you just got to climb each peak. Take the negative in stride and never go. This is why I love the streams and why I got to do them more often and do longer streams. This is why I got to transition to Twitch or whatever, because I feel like the people who are in this chat right now are not just helpful, they're honest. I remember when I was going through my thing and I was so annoyed about it. I'm like, why is this so confusing? People in chat were simple, succinct. They weren't, you know, but they were just like, you know, that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. And I mean, you can't always get the girl in the end. And that never happens. Especially and on the other side of things, right? If you're not picky enough, you'll have people who desperately want someone to be holding their hand, and they care more about the abstract idea of having a significant other rather than who that significant other is. That's why you see these people, and I've seen these people. In fact, a good number of my friends, and I can't name any of them, but there are a lot of people I know who really cannot handle being single. It's either a reputational thing or they just lose their own dignity. And so they have to search around, go on Tinder, go on fucking Hinge, go to hell. They have to go to the Hell app and search out someone. And it's like, oh, this person approximately looks good for me, you know? Maybe I have the wrong way to approach things, but I only really find somebody who I even find worth pursuing once every 5 years. And I think of them as having an admirable personality. And I really want to go on a journey with them personally, get to know them, be as reasonably respectful and assertive, find that perfect needle to thread. But just a lot of people have some different ideas where it's just they treat them like this status. It's just they're like, okay, now I have you, and now I'm just going to constantly bring you around to places that I go, and you're just my accessory, right? You've seen these people. I'm sure tons of third wave feminists have written blog posts about it, right? It's a phenomenon that happens frequently. But I still do think that if you're just think about those relative, like if it's like, oh, it's been so much time and I haven't found someone who I really feel like is good for me. Am I asexual or whatever? Which, by the way, on the most part, it's a myth. Very few people, if anybody, are asexual. It's just they're normal people who don't feel the need to constantly grab every single lady they see. They're picky. You know, their brains evolved to find one partner per lifetime, and their brains adjust their want and desire for people to a degree of specificity proportional to that. So, yeah, once every 5 years, will I find somebody personality-wise who meshes? And so far, they've ended up being completely immature sobs. Maybe that's my issue. You know, maybe I can work that out. But I mean, I think the point here is just the frequency, just how picky, it is. Sure, sure. I mean, there are tons of women who are totally okay with just being an accessory because they also want to be possessed by something, The mech suit of a man desperately wants a thing to fit in them, and the thing to fit in the mech suit desperately wants a mech suit to fit in. That's a fucking epic analogy, but you get my point, right? So I think just understand your rhythm. Understand, am I the type of person who always wants someone who is like I barely even know, like a borderline stranger by my side? Or am I somebody who wants to really search, find someone special, and it'll still be a risk? I might not even end up staying with that person, but it's just not natural for me personally to just see someone who's cool, kind of, and just spring for it, because it's like once every 5 years that I find someone who's, cool enough for me. So I don't know, but I'm also a bad romantic, unlike Super Mondo Man, who gives pretty fucking solid advice. Pretty fucking solid advice. Thank you to chat for being here at 30 minutes. Damn, time flies when you're on a phone call with somebody talking about their love life. Thank you for watching day 852 of Eating a Sheet of Paper a Day. I will see you all tomorrow. That'll be day 853. Make sure to live, laugh, cry, and also not die. And until next time, this is goodbye. Sometimes those positions flip. Well, that's true. That's true. It's interesting. It's a weird guessing game. Like, okay, what type is natural and is a front, and which one is them being scared to do the other thing they secretly want the other? It's weird. It's a case-by-case basis. Yeah, hey, Moses, stay strong out there, man. Try not to linger. Acknowledge the past to the right degree till it feels right, and then let it go. Don't just bury stuff, obviously. Don't just bury shit because you don't want to think about it. When it's in front of you, look at it, acknowledge it, go, that happened, and let it go. Acknowledge, let it go. 2 steps. Acknowledge, let it go. And if it boomerang hurdles back to you, acknowledge it again, let it go. It's a great exercise. You won't be perfect at it first, but how do you get good at mini golfing? You practice. So fucking practice that. Burger Man, do you Insta? It's caught in my throat, the last piece, so I'm gonna get some more water so I can wash because the paper sometimes gets stuck because my esophageal pathway is a little thin. While I do that, if you want to give your Insta Burger Man, then you can. I don't want to say that I ended the stream too quickly. You guys were able to switch or exchange your information. Ugh. All right. Make sure to live, laugh, cry, and also not die. And until next time, this is goodbye. I think I already said that. All right. See you guys later.